when we moved around this country, one of the most fascinating things we realized was most of the leaders of police in different parts of the country are from one side of the country. When we saw some of the leaders in the Electoral Commission offices across the country, many of them come from one side of the country. When we consider some of these things, the jobs that are available, are you telling me that the whole of Eastern and Northern region, they did not find sufficient people who are educated enough, powerful enough, understand issues enough, that their leaders ought to come from a different side of the country? My government intends to work with faith-based organizations in order to disseminate information faster, in order to reach the farthest parts of this country faster, because most of the religious organizations in this country have a very good network across the nation. The third thing we identified was education. Our education system is lacking greatly, and we need to overhaul our education system. Not just the syllabus, but we need to review the educators that we have. How are they being catered for? What are their salaries like? They've lost all their dignity. Omusajja omugezigezi yagamba, bali bamuyita Kasi Muhammad, yagamba nti no, to destroy a nation, destroy the dignity of the teacher. Chetuyina wano mu Uganda. Our economy cannot grow if we are going to look about 80% of our national economy, the numbers that we look at and say our country is growing economically, is coming majorly from central Uganda and western Uganda, which is wrong.
True.
Eastern Uganda and northern Uganda have been forgotten. Northern Uganda is the poorest part of this nation. Eastern Uganda is the second poorest part of this nation. We need to equitably share the resources, the jobs, and everything that feeds into the national economy. If Ugandans are all involved, our economy will grow even faster, and we will grow together. So that kubanga abantu abamu ndowooza balowooza nti Uganda ye Kampala Road. We need to get away from the mentality of thinking that Uganda is Kampala Road. Bw'olabanga ebizimbe bisituka, waliwo ebifo nga ne basic health care teriiyo. Abantu enjala ekyabaluma tebalina na mmere. If we are to move from where we are, abantu we bakaabira, twetaaga to move our nation ahead by first and foremost identifying the right leaders, number one, and putting them in the right places. So si kuwa milimo bantu kubanga they have a certain tribe, kuwa bantu milimo kubanga they have a certain religion, kuwa bantu milimo because they have a certain political party. Bano batambula nange naye they are not qualified kamba wo mulimo guno no. Naye ennaku zino osanga abantu mu Bank of Uganda nga balina pass, lwaki ayina cheat eyava mu State House okumuwa omulimu. That is what has caused Uganda to retrogress. Tuyina abakulembeze bangi who are in their positions because they are related to, they speak a certain language, they have a certain religion, they have a certain political inclination. Ebintu ebyo n'ogenda okulaba nga if leaders are picked not because of merit but because of association, that means service delivery is broken down.
Ekibuzo kyaffe maama twebuuza bwe tuti tugenda lwaki tuli bwe tuti tumiteekamu tumanyi tulinayo mmwe abaakoma mu kilaasi ezo, tulinamu abadinayinga chances okusoma, tulina nammwe abali ku piiki, so tubatabula mu Lusoga gye tuli, mu Luganda gye tuli, mu Luzungu gye tuli, mu Lulugwala tunaatera mutulinde programu ekyali empanvu. So n'olwensonga our president, the only presidential candidate in Africa, Mukasere Kano, Bobo Wakana, mention which country that has got a woman. Temubalina, mu Uganda tumulina kalembe yekomo bwati. Tugeze maaso. We've seen a lot of issues that are affecting Ugandans in all angles. Kankumenyereko these areas where Ugandans are suffering. And we believe you by coming out with the mission 56, leaving none behind. That means you're not going to leave the educated, non-educated. You're not going to leave the Mnyankore, the Murugwara, the Musoga. Mean that you're going to kutambula chitole. So for that reason, Mission 56, the question is, how ready are you to address the issues that are affecting Ugandans? And those issues, if you don't mind, you can outline them for our viewers to understand.
The issues that are affecting Ugandans are many. It's a wide scope of challenges across this country.
Yep.
I think the biggest issue that cuts across the whole country is the levels of poverty, the lack of jobs, especially youth unemployment, being that the youth are over 75% of our population. I studied Bachelor of Science in Population Studies, so I understand quite a bit of demographics. And I majored in actuarial science. And our country, our current government has not planned very well for our country. That is why we have all these challenges coming up. However, those are not the only challenges. When you look at our education system, it needs an overhaul. When you look at our health system, it leaves a lot to be desired. We do not have medication in hospitals. There are parts of this country where I have been where the hospitals didn't even have Panadol. When we were in Gulu, some of the people we talked to said, you know, in the hospital we don't even have Panadol right now as we speak. And that's a simple painkiller. As we went through Karamoja region, there's hardly any infrastructure. There are no roads. The roads are not just impassable, they're dangerous. The water is very dirty. Basic things like clean water are still lacking in our country. The water that they were using to bathe, drink, their animals to drink, looked like sewage water in some parts of Karamoja region. We passed through, I think it was Nabira Tuk, one of the districts, and we found that majority of the children all the way to Moroto had sores on their bodies. And when we asked some of the parents what is going on, they said, in Karamoja, we give birth. Those who survive, survive. Those who die, die. This was very sad. You could hardly find the words to tell these kinds of people. There are parts of this country where, in Buganda, bachita chibataka. There is a group of individuals who have decided that Uganda belongs to them and therefore they can take land as they please. When we moved around this country, one of the most fascinating things we realized was most of the leaders of police in different parts of the country are from one side of the country. When we saw some of the leaders in the electoral commission offices across the country, many of them come from one side of the country. When we consider some of these things, the jobs that are available, are you telling me that the whole of Eastern and Northern region, they did not find sufficient people who are educated enough, powerful enough, understand issues enough, that their leaders ought to come from a different side of the country? I found that very fascinating. So, waliwo job inequality mu nsi yaffe. Kyova nayogedde ku kintu ky'okusosola ennyo kubanga ekyo, whether this government accepts it or not, it is obvious. They don't want us to talk about it, but it is clear there's a lot of segregation in our country, and that needs to be put to an end. When we consider different issues, besides, we were excited in Uganda that here we have oil, we have gold, but how many Ugandans actually have had access or have benefited from the gold that we are talking about or from the oil that we are talking about? The issues are many across, it's a wide spectrum of issues. And that is why when we were deciding to put together this manifesto, we discussed different issues. Let me get into, the Ugandans already know the problems that we are facing, from the medicine not being available to mothers giving birth on the floors or on the roadside. There's maternity mortality has gone up by close to 8% in the recent past. We have seen there's a lot of child pregnancies. I'll call them child pregnancies. And there's a lot that needs to be done. Kyova ngamba nti nno kaakati Uganda we tuli twetaaga maama okunyiga ebiwundu of everything that Ugandans are going through. The challenges, we went to Kasese and the people are crying. They removed our father. Kabaka waabwe ndowooza omanye ebyamutuukako.
Last week bamutute mu court.
So bw'otunuulira ebintu ebyenjawulo ebiri mu nsi muno, there is a lot of suppression. Anyone who comes up to speak is suppressed. When you look at the markets, you know what is happening in Owino market right now. And some other markets across the country. Obutale tebukyali bwa bannayuganda bwabwe. So there's a group of people we say Uganda yabwe. That is why Mission 56 is very important in a time such as this. So there's a lot of okusosola mu nsi yaffe saawa zino. So one of the things, if you will permit me, maybe I can go into talking about my manifesto.
Please. Before our manifesto.
Yes, sir.
Kubanga mukulu producer. Mission 54.
56.
56. N'abatulaba mu nsi yonna okutwaliza wamu. Amawanga ge tulina
mu Uganda.
Mluzungu bakitaba atya?
Tribes.
The tribe. We have 56 tribes. We believe the 56 tribes, our sole candidate, a woman, Gutulina, in this world at the moment, she believes the moment she becomes the president, Mission 56 will be achieved. How? Because, you know, we are trying to find out why is it so some sections, some organizations are fully employed by one tribe. And she believes Mission 56 that all tribes will come together. And that's why she said, leaving no one behind, that we shall be together in all versions. How? Politically, she believes she's going to join us. Socially, she will join us. Politically, she will join us. Economically, join us. When we talk about all these, that's why in her manifesto, she's yet to let everyone understand what is exactly in her manifesto. When she talks about social aspect of development, that's why she believes that at one point she will bring us together. Education, health systems, they are all that social aspect. So, I'm not her spokesman, but she's here to talk about her manifesto. Madam President, go ahead. I was trying to let the mass, the white people in the diaspora to understand why is it 56? 56 tribes that we have in Uganda.
In the manifesto that we've put together, we have identified 7 areas in which we believe it will take Ugandans a long way in developing and growth as a nation. And the first one is in faith. My government intends to work with faith-based organizations in order to disseminate information faster, in order to reach the farthest parts of this country faster, because most of the religious organizations in this country have a very good network across the nation. Most recently, I've been serving with National Fellowship and with Interreligious Council of Uganda. During the COVID lockdown, we appreciated how fast and how efficient working with faith-based organizations was. Ebipande ebisinga bye mwalabanga ebya COVID-19, they were actually translated into different tribes, into different languages within 3 days. I was one of the people who spearheaded that process because Ministry of Health did not have the resources, the people to translate all those into the different languages. Most people saw the Ministry of Health posters going out telling people about how to manage COVID-19 and how to protect ourselves, but they did not understand who was behind it. I was one of the people who led that team of people who we sat for 3 days, translated all the information into the different languages across the country, and Ministry of Health worked together with us, and we managed to put out this information in a speedy way. And that helped disseminate the information as fast as possible. That is how efficient working together does. That's why we are saying we are leaving no one behind. We are not going to say because these are religious leaders they shouldn't. No, no, no. If we work together, everybody brings something valuable to the table. When it came to food distribution, I was part of that as well. During the lockdown, we had to distribute food across Wachiso district and Kampala district. Later on, we were barred from distributing in Kampala district, and we were allowed to distribute outside of Kampala. But we did a very tremendous job, I believe, because while we were working, there was no corruption and food missing and some of the products missing as we were distributing them. So it was very good. The second issue in my manifesto, the second point in my manifesto is about families. We know that family is the building block of any society. And we believe that putting policies and programs in place to support families will take our nation further and help us grow as a country. Right now, there's a lot of family disintegration. And ekimwe ekireta family disintegration, when we're doing some bit of research and we're talking to different people, ekintu kyebbula ly'emirimu kireetedde abaami bangi nnyo to leave their homes, because batuuka ekiseera nga they know that the burden of providing for their families lies on them, but they don't have jobs, they don't have resources. So how can we help families actually stay together, be strong, as the new government that is coming into place? So family is very important. The third thing we identified, so because of time, the third thing we identified was education. Our education system is lacking greatly, and we need to overhaul our education system. Not just the syllabus, but we need to review abasomesa abatusomesa, the educators that we have. How are they being catered for? What are their salaries like? They've lost all their dignity. Omusajja omugezigezi yagamba, bali bamuyita Kasi Muhammad, yagamba nti no, to destroy a nation, destroy the dignity of the teacher. Kyetulina wano mu Uganda. Omusomesa takyalina kitiibwa, ensasula y'omusomesa mbi nnyo. Kati mu government yange bye bintu ebimu bye twagala okukolako. You cannot work on foundational education, overhauling the system, n'ogamba nti kankole ku syllabus yokka. Olina okukola ku bintu bingi. We've also identified, besides the teachers being catered for, their welfare being catered for, what kind of training are they having, so that we can improve them as individuals, because teachers are constantly pouring themselves into the students that we constantly take to school to them. So we need to know that the training is right, and what they are providing the children with, which is the syllabus, is also right. Then mu syllabus nga tetunaba nagenda waggulu eno, tulina what they call the foundation. The foundational education. Wano mu early years, twetaaga an early years development program that is very strong and gives our education system a very good foundation. Kati education nga njivuddeko ne tudda ku economy. Our economy cannot grow if we are going to look about 80% of our national economy. The numbers that we look at and say our country is growing economically is coming majorly from central Uganda and western Uganda, which is wrong. True. Eastern Uganda and northern Uganda have been forgotten. Northern Uganda is the poorest part of this nation. Eastern Uganda is the second poorest part of this nation. We need to equitably share the resources, the jobs, and everything that feeds into the national economy. If Ugandans are all involved, our economy will grow even faster, and we will grow together. So that kubanga abantu abamu ndowooza balowooza nti Uganda ye Kampala Road. We need to get away from the mentality of thinking that Uganda is Kampala Road. Bw'olabanga ebizimbe bisituka, waliwo ebifo nga ne basic health care teriiyo, abantu enjala ekyabaluma tebalina na mmere. So how can we say that Uganda is growing? We need to say Central Uganda is growing, Western Uganda is growing, and some parts of Eastern and some parts of Northern Uganda are growing. But my government is going to usher in a wholeness of a nation. That is why Mission 56 is very important to us, that fenna tujja kukula economically. How? To identify the 4 tools of economic growth, right from household incomes all the way to, and then we will support the national budget. Kubanga buli omu bw'ayogera national budget abantu abasinga tebategeera nti national budget sente ziva mufe zitya bwe tukola ne tusasula emisolo ng'emirimu gye tukola gitugasa, kitegeeza nti n'emisolo tuba tugisasula bulungi, nga burden is not put on the few who are already paying taxes, but the actual tax base is widened by providing jobs. How? We've identified, number 1, we want to set up community businesses that will be able to bring jobs closer to the people across the country. That's why we're calling them community businesses. More community businesses, they are going to be majorly agriculture based, because agriculture is the backbone of our nation. Abantu abasinga, over 70% of Ugandans are involved in agriculture one way or another. But how can we help improve it? By bringing, not only improving agriculture per se, but bringing the market closer for the agricultural products. How? By bringing the factories closer. Kyova tugamba nti community businesses, tetugenda kulima kwokka, tugenda kuleeta value addition factories closer to the people, so that omulimi abeera n'akatale kali kumpi awo, ate abantu b'omukyalo eyo abeere nga bw'aba alimye kasooli we, ekyuma ekikuba kasooli we ekiri kumpi awo, abantu abagenda omugula bali kumpi. Bw'aba akola nanansi, ekyuma ekisogola enanansi kiri kumpi, ebinyeebwa, everything across, n'abalunzi bwe batyo. When we bring these factories closer, the value addition factories closer, and we make them part of these community businesses, it means that you have brought jobs to the people. Si mulimi yekka, naye omuntu agenda okukola ku factory floor. Accountant agenda okukola, the marketers, the sales people, the lawyers who are going to be company secretaries. Emirimu oba ogitutewa closer to the people. That's why we are talking about community businesses. But tuba tuvudde community businesses as the first tool of bringing economic empowerment to the ordinary Ugandan. Nti omuntu talina kubanga yasoma nnyo okubeera nga asalawo okukola. Olabye abakyala bakola OD. They don't need to have gone to school. Bayina ebinyeebwa byabwe, bayina sim, they are doing this. Can we help them raise the standard of their product? So that tebakoma kugitunda mu containers kutambuza ku makubo. They can put it on supermarket shelves, and we can even help them together with Uganda Export Promotions Board. Maybe they can get certified and they can even export. That is the kind of thing we want to talk about as we usher in this new government. That community businesses zigenda kubeera nti si national development, abantu bawansi balowooze nti no development y'abantu bali basoma ya buli omu. Nti bwe tusoma namba za GDP, jajja wange mu kyalo agambe I contributed to that figure. Kyetwagala okugamba. Now the second tool is incubation centers.
Madam President.
Yes,
nga
sir.
tonaba kumaliriza twetaaga abatulaba President ali mu kutuyitiramu manifesto ye, mugitwale mugisaasaanye ensi. So kakati n'olw'ensonga eyo President waffe ge tulina ali mu kutuyitiramu ku manifesto ye. Kakati lwaki agisizaana kuba tuli mu scientific election ta scientific campaigns. Kakati this might know okubeera olunaku olwaleero ate munnange mbu bazigaddeko so tasobodde kutuukayo. Kakati we know you guys all over the globe you can receive this information, so please disseminate. She has gone through this online TV, the Flashlight Uganda, waisiza information ekyeki mu Uganda, obubaka n'endowooza ze ezigenda okulakulanya ensi yaffe Uganda. Tukyali naye wano tusaba mu mwagali temwerabira nti mu kutambula kuno takozesa amazzi nti oba agenda ku nnyanja Victoria n'asenayo nedda. Her strength is your strength. So please kindly support her in all her programs. Neno program yenyini mujisupporting kwa tetwaga kumusaba sente ze naye kuba nti no tusiimye nti government ato tewali mafuta tetunywa mazzi tusaba mu supporting okutandika n'olwaleero paka dinange simanyi. So please kindly I encourage you, please be with her in all versions. She's really very interesting. Let us give her the chance to move with us because it's Mission 56. Me, I'm very much already interested. Mission 56, all of us are going to be part of the State House. Shalina ye mu studio. President waffe Ojiro otangaza ensonga manifesto ensonga ezimu abanauganda ziri mu manifesto ye zali mu kwogerako. Kindly proceed.
Thank you very much. Tool eyokubiri ye incubation centers. Omuntu yenna awulira nga ayina ekintu kyayagala okwekolera okuyingira mu makolero. We have been talking about industrialization. We don't wake up one day and we can build very large factories. You can start small. You can start with small factories in homes. Cottage industries will be supported in my government. Norecho kati bwe tuogera ku incubation center omuntu ayagadde okweyimirizaawo naye nga talina factory talina na byuma aba asobola kuvaayo najja mu incubation centers mu Luganda twandikiyise ebibaya bya business nti baby tumuteeka mu kibaya. Incubation centers zino zibeere nga zisobola okuyamba omuntu owa bulijjo okutandikawo factory ye. Mu incubation centers tujja kubeera n'omuntu oyo okumala mwaka gumu ebiri paka kwesatu ng'obeeramu n'ovaamu ogenda okuvaamu ng'osobola okweyimirizaawo ne factory yo. Tool ey'okusatu gye twa-identifyinze ye talent development centers. Tumanyi nti abavubuka bangi abamu balina talanta naye tebalina mirimu. So in the talent development centers, oba oli muyimbi, whether it's music, dance, drama, sports, any kind of art, we shall be supporting you in these talent development centers so that people can turn their talents into income generating activities. Kati ekyokuna tool eyokuna
tugendedde kuba it's a very serious point.
Yes.
In President Nancy, that government of ours gye tusuubira okubaamu abavubuka mu kiwulidde because we believe that noba toli mu office but through your talent you will earn. Is it what you think about?
Yes, and our government will support.
Yes, and it is believed that those who guys abali mu byalo, they didn't go at a given level of education, that talent will make you reach a given level where you'll be very happy at one more point. So meaning that, please kindly youth, you've had the Mission 56, you're part of the system, so kindly, she's there ready for you as the president. So let us test to see if you put salt into milk, what happens? Gajja kufa. Kakati katulabe suka. Bwe tufuna president omukyala mu Uganda, tuddawa. Mission 56 will be achieved. Please proceed.
Kakati, the fourth tool that we'll be working with is the innovation centers. Tuina abaana bakalimagezi, abanauganda bakalimagezi, ababeerawo n'ebintu bye tuyiiya all the time. Tumanyi wajjidde mu motoka. It is not an innovation of this country.
Yep.
The microphones and the cameras we are using are not an innovation of our country. However, what are those things that have been kept in people's minds that God has given them in their minds? Bakalimagezi abo bonna twagala basikayo yonna gye bali. Tubateekerewo innovation centers babeere nga basobola okujja ne balowooza ne bazaala ebintu ebibyo bali mu bwongo bajje babirabeko. Ba artists bajja kubeerawo babakubira ebintu ebyo bye balaba mu bwongo bwabwe. Ba engineers babayambeko okuzimba prototypes ezo, so that we as a nation can start having our geniuses and our gifted minds to start producing innovations from Uganda to the world. So that we can start having our own innovations. Those are the four tools that I've talked about: community businesses, incubation centers, talent development centers, and innovation centers. Those are the four tools in our economic sector that we want to use to help push our economy forward. The fifth issue in our manifesto is about arts and entertainment, sports, arts and entertainment. echo it is almost self-explanatory twagala kukwatagana ne ba entertainers tumanyi nti no to change the mindsets of people otandika ne ideology n'ogenda how do you disseminate it when we work together with our musicians, our existing musicians, abantu abali mu katemba, what is going to happen? They'll be able to send the mission forward. Bw'otunuulira in the 80s when AIDS was very dangerous ng'abantu tetumanyi what to do with this, twakozesa bannakatemba ab'ennyimba to send the information forward so that people could start to hear and listen and learn. So we want to work with these gifted people. Kati bano abeetongozezza already si bali mu talent development centers betwagala okwencouraging naye bano who are already in existence, who are already working, how do we support them? You've seen that this current government right now bannakatemba batandise obbasiba abayimbi ennyimba ezimu batandise ozisazaamu kubanga tezibasanyusa nga bo bennyini ensi. Tutandise okulaba bino ebintu batandise okubaziba emimwa batandise okubasiba n'abamu. So my government is going to have freedom of speech nga tukolagana n'abantu bano abali talented already abavaayo tugende nga tutwala government yaffe mu maaso. The sixth point in my manifesto, and I am the only presidential candidate who has put this in my manifesto, y'ensonga ya media. Kati tutandise okulaba ba media abantu abali mu mawulire abakwata amawulire batandise okubatulugunya abamu rumored dead abalala batandise obbalonda nga babatwala, and yet it is important for a time such as this for a nation to be working hand in hand with their media fraternity. Recently bateekawo etteeka nti buli omu agende abeere registered as in the media fraternity. Ensonga eyo bagiteekawo in this time okugezaako okusiba to muzzle them. Omanyi bw'oteeka ekigoye ku mbwa ereme kuluma ebyo ebigoye eby'amaanyi. That is what they are trying to do to our media fraternity. And in my time, I also belong to the media fraternity, by the way, nali nkola mu UBC ne UTV before that. So I understand the challenges of our media, what they go through when ngabasa kamawulide, the challenges they go through, and this is their livelihood as well. So in my government, we intend to work with different media houses, the different personalities in the media, to change the rhetoric of Africa, to change the rhetoric of Uganda. We've complained about the fact that CNN, ne BBC, ne Al Jazeera, the international news agencies, bwe balaga Africa, oluusi bafokasinga nnyo ku bwavu, ku bulwadde, ku ntalo, ku starvation, the negative aspects of Africa. We can't blame them. Why? We didn't hire them to do our PR. We need to do our own PR. And we need our media fraternity to put out the right image of Africa, to show the areas we are growing, to show the beauty in Uganda and in Africa. So we need to work together with our media fraternity. It will also change the mindset. We've seen agendas being pushed by the media. Number one, we've seen, I talked about the HIV, how we pushed to destroy stigmatization among the people living with HIV/AIDS. We've seen COVID-19 most recently, how the media was used to sensitize people so that abantu baigo kwekuuma. We've seen a few years ago when we were trying to push for family planning, ne tutandika okulabanga bukatemba obusinga bu videos bwe twalabanga businga bu sitcoms nga mulimu mama, tata, sister, brother, 2 children, so that people's mentalities could be changed from having very large families to smaller manageable families.
Yep.
You see how the media was used. And now, should we abandon them now?
We shouldn't.
We've seen Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore, how we work together with the media to help change the mindset of the Singaporeans. We can do the same in Uganda. That is why it is one of the major points in my manifesto. It's a 7-point program in the manifesto, and we intend to work with them as well. Now, finally, and most importantly, is the leadership. Point y'omusanvu mu manifesto yange ye leadership. We know that everything rises and falls on leadership. Naye ensi yaffe, if we are to move from where we are, abantu we bakaabira, twetaaga to move our nation ahead by first and foremost identifying the right leaders, number one, and putting them in the right places. so si kuwa milimo bantu kubanga they have a certain tribe, kuwa bantu milimo kubanga they have a certain religion, kuwa bantu milimo because they have a certain political party. Bano batambula nange naye they are not qualified kambawo omulimo guno. No, we intend as a government, the incoming government, as the next president of this country, to turn Uganda into a meritocracy where leaders are selected because of their professionalism, because of their experience, because of their strengths. Everything ought to be based on merit. Because we have seen organizations, ebitongole bingi nnyo mu Uganda, bitandise okudda emabega. Ffe we twakuliranga tumanyi okukola mu Bank of Uganda olina okubeera ne first class degree. Naye ennaku zino osanga abantu mu Bank of Uganda nga balina pass. Lwaki? Ayina cheat eyava mu State House okumuwa omulimu. That is what has caused Uganda to retrogress. Tuyina abakulembeze bangi who are in their positions because they are related to, they speak a certain language, they have a certain religion, they have a certain political inclination. Ebintu ebyo n'ogenda okulaba nga if leaders are picked not because of merit but because of association, that means service delivery is broken down. Service delivery egenda kudda mabega. Instead of growing, we shall be retrogressing. So in my government, Ugandans is the first qualification. To get any job, number one, are you Ugandan? First and foremost. We tunaba to failings okunonya Ugandan who can qualify, who is within the borders of Uganda. Then we shall look for Ugandans in the diaspora. Mukifo ekyokuwa expatriate omulimu omuntu ava mu nsi endala. Why don't we give those expatriate jobs to Ugandans in the diaspora to be attracting badde waka? Ng'amanyi nti nno omusaala gwagenda okufuna gulinga gwa expatriate naye ng'ali mu nsi ye, tumusikirize okuvaayo gy'ali aleete expertise eri gy'afunye agireete wano so ate eggwanga lyaffe. I've seen Nigeria did that. Bayina programu yaabwe nga bwe baleme mu kifo ekyokufuna ba expatriates who are foreigners. The jobs are open to Nigerians who have settled or have other nationalities.
Madam,
because you can have...
Sorry for interruption.
Yes, please.
May you please rephrase again that particular statement.
Kakati.
People in diaspora with their expertise.
Naye nga tebasobola kufuna sente zegasa wano mu Uganda.
We know 1,000 of Ugandans are outside there, not suffering from there, doing their own thing the other side. But in this incoming government of our sole candidate, the only woman in Africa, Uganda, kikyasuubira bakolera awamu naffe.
Kakati kyembadde ngamba nti qualification mu government yeneddako. Egenda esooka qualification yasooka, are you Ugandan?
Point noted.
Are you home? Wonderful. Are you in the diaspora? Why are you there when you have certain qualifications? Tumanyi, we have doctors, we have engineers, we have a lot of experts who are stuck in foreign countries because they cannot get the right salaries, the right livelihood here in Uganda. Kati mu kifo ekyokuleeta foreigner okukola omulimu gwa expert ate nga tulina Uganda abali in the diaspora who have the expertise. To attract them, tubawa yandibadde nga expatriate job ne tugiwa Uganda asazeewo okufuna citizenship ey'okubiri kubanga wane Uganda emirimu giganye okujja mu bye yasoma. Yasoma nnyo naye sente zaafuna ntono nnyo bw'abeera wane Uganda. We need to attract them back home. Nigeria has done it before. Uganda can also do it. So in order to do that, we are planning to why are we doing that? We are planning to outsource the best leaders of our country wherever they are on the globe. That is why it is important. Abantu babadde bambuuza, in the first few days of your leadership, what are you going to do? Until we are going to work on the leadership of our nation. Tugenda kugezaako okunoonya abakulembeze who have the right makeup to be leaders in this country, according to strength, expertise, professionalism, experience, ebintu bye wasoma kwegamba tubaleete. We put them in the right offices, we empower them.